All right, so this is going to be a video about simplifying rational expressions, and I'm basically just going to be working out 5 example problems. So the first one is going to be 2 times the quantity x plus 1 plus 2, and then all of this is going to be divided by the quantity 2x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 1 minus 1. All right, first thing I'm going to do for this is simplify everything as much as I possibly can. So that top part is going to be 2x plus 2 plus 2. So all I did was distribute this 2 so far. Okay, this next part, I'm going to multiply this 2x plus 3 times the x plus 1 here. And you're going to end up with 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. And this is after you subtract this 1 right here. So I subtracted the 1, you end up with something like this. Okay. These 2 and 2 are going to come together to be a 4 here. And then from here, I'm going to factor out the 2 from the top. So it's going to be 2 times the quantity x plus 2. And then I'm dividing all this by this part right here, completely factored, which is going to be 2x plus 1 and x plus 2. Now, the good thing about factoring this is you can see that now you can cancel these out. So I divided the top and the bottom by x plus 2. So those cancel out there. And you're going to be left with the final answer of 2 over 2x plus 1. And that's your final answer. Okay, the second part of the problem does say to identify the values of the variables that must be excluded to prevent division by 0. So anything that you would cause a division by 0 on this first part, this whole thing right here, needs to be addressed because those are called excluded values. The easiest way to figure out what would be division by 0 is to look at the step where everything is completely factored. So right here, where this is completely factored, if this 2x plus 1 was equal to 0, you wouldn't be allowed to use that value. Or if the x plus 2 was equal to 0, you wouldn't be able to use that value as well. So what I'm going to do is solve each of these. So x is equal to 1/2 is one of them, and x is equal to -2 is the other. So these two values are what's called excluded values because if x was equal to these, you'd be dividing by 0. Okay, so that is the full worked out answer for that problem. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so the next one is going to be x squared minus x minus 6 all over 5x squared plus 10x. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is factor the top and the bottom completely. So if you factor the top, you should end up with x minus 3 times the quantity x plus 2. And then we're dividing this all by, I'm going to factor out an x, a 5x actually from here, and you're going to end up with x plus 2 here. And the great thing about seeing this factored form of it is you can see that the x plus 2 and x plus 2 will divide out. Okay, and then you're left with your final answer of x minus 3 all over 5x. Okay, the second part of the problem does say to find the excluded values. So I'm going to use where it's completely factored right here to find these excluded values. So we would have 5x is equal to 0 and x plus 2 is equal to 0. And we solve both of these out. We have x equals 0 as one of the excluded values and x equals -2 as the other excluded value. All right, let's work on the next problem here. We have 3 minus x all over x squared minus 9. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is factor that bottom. The top is already factored, so I'm just going to rewrite it there, and you're going to end up with x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3 for that bottom value there. Now this one's kind of tricky because you might think, oh, this x minus, or this 3 minus x and this x minus 3 will cancel. And then that's actually not true. What you need to do is actually factor out a negative from the top. So whenever this happens, you're going to want to factor out a negative from either the top or the bottom. It really depends on which one you want to do. It's just easier for this one to do it on the top. And then what I'm going to do is reorder this right here. Instead of negative 3 plus x, I'm going to say x minus 3. So you're going to be left with negative times x minus 3 all over x plus 3 and x minus 3. Now what's great about that, switching the order, you can see that right away these would actually divide out to be 1 over 1. And you'll end up with the final answer to be negative 1 over x plus 3. Okay. Now we're not done yet though, because we still have to find the excluded values. Well, right here is probably the best place to look for the excluded values. It would be x is equal to plus or minus 3, because if you set either of those equal to 0, you're going to have x is equal to plus or minus 3. So those are the two excluded values. All right, let's go to the next one. So the next one is a little bit more involved. It's going to be 12x to the third plus 84x squared all over 2x squared plus 26x plus 84. All right, first thing I'm going to do is actually divide the top and the bottom by 2, because I noticed that they're all divisible by 2, every single term on the top and the bottom. So you're going to be left with 6x cubed on top plus 42x squared, all divided by x squared plus 13x plus 42. From here, I'm going to factor out a 6x squared from the top. And then on the bottom, I am going to factor that quadratic. And that quadratic will factor to x plus 7 times quantity x plus 6. And what's great about this is you can divide out the x plus 7 from the top and the bottom there. And you're going to be left with 6x squared over x plus 6 for your final answer. Okay, the excluded values can be found from this factored part right here. We're setting each of those factors equal to 0. So you're going to end up with the excluded values of x equals negative 7 and x equals negative 6. All right, let's do the next one. All right, so the next one is x squared minus 7x plus 12, all divided by 6 minus 5x plus x squared. Okay, we have two quadratics. The one on the bottom is in reverse, so I'm actually going to flip this just so it's easier for me to look at. Feel free to do that whenever that happens on a test or a quiz. You are totally allowed to do that. The top is going to factor to x minus 3 and x minus 4. And the bottom is going to factor to x minus 3 times the quantity x minus 2. Okay, the x minus 3s are going to divide out. So you're left with the final answer of x minus 4 over x minus 2. The excluded values for this one, based on this factored out right here, would be x is equal to 3 and x is equal to 2. So that's 5 example problems involving simplifying rational expressions. If you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.